Hello and welcome back to another episode of Injustice For All MMA. My name is David, and this episode is for UFC Fight Night Burns versus Brady. Now, this episode is 10 years too late, but the benefit of me having to do these episodes very, very late is that I can kind of analyze everything that's going on the fight card. And one downside to that is just more critiquing of commentary and how certain commentary groups justify certain injustices that happen in fights. I'm a little tired right now, so if I sound retarded, just bear with me here. Let's start off with the whole thing. Let's start off with the first fight of the night, which was Ramaska versus Fletcher. No one told me that we're doing more tough fights that have nothing to do with whether or not you won the show or not. I was so confused when I started this fight card and Ramaska versus Fletcher was on the card, and it's not as though they were fighting for the winner of tough. They were just fighting to fight, but they could have just had regular UFC shorts on. Instead, they had tough shorts on. Cool, that's beyond the point. So let's get into it. Ramaska versus Fletcher. I had a 10-9 for Fletcher in the first round, and Fletcher wins by submission in the second round. In the first round, Ramaska had 2 reversals with some ground and pound. Fletcher had 3 takedowns with some ground and pound. Fletcher wins this round, but for some reason, we'll get to the scorecards later. I guess all the rumbling back and forth made it seem as though that Ramaska won to some of the judges. That's nonsense. That's absolutely nonsense. But again, Fletcher wins in the second round by submission. You go to the judges' scorecards, and 2 judges, Junichiro Kamijo and Tony Weeks, gives the first round to Ramaska. I repeat, Ramaska was taken down 3 times. He had 2 reversals. He had some decent ground and pound, but then he got taken down 3 times and was given some ground and pound by Fletcher. No one should score this for Ramaska. Honorable mention to Kamijo and Weeks. That's just terrible. And then Weeks is the only, Brian Minner is the only one who has the correct scorecard, 10-9 to Fletcher. So there you have it on that. You go to the next honorable mention, and this is what sets the tone for the night. Okay, this is what had me really pissed watching this fight card. So Amorim versus Demopoulos. This fight ends in a submission win for Amorim, but that's really not the story of the fight. The story of this fight is, for some reason, there is a huge foul. Let's set this up a little better. Amorim gets a takedown on Demopoulos. Demopoulos is, how do I put this? She is discontent on the bottom. She's attacking on the bottom. She's very active on the bottom. There's a point where Amorim gets Demopoulos' back, and during the hand fighting, Amorim puts 2 fingers in her glove. She puts it in the bottom of her glove, which, if we've watched enough MMA at this point to know this is a foul, this is wrong. Normally, most of the time, not even normally, almost all the time, the ref sees it, stops it, and fixes whatever the problem was. Jacob Montalvo, not only was he not in position, he then moves in position, sees it, and does nothing about it. That's the worst part. We'll get to the second worst part. Anyways, Amorim uses the fact that she put her fingers in Demopoulos' glove. She cheats. The fact that she uses her cheating to then get an armbar, she gets it. Demopoulos taps. And honestly, I don't know the procedure, but this should be a no contest or something. The commentary jumps in, and this is probably the second worst part. The commentary jumps in and proceeds to give Amorim, proceeds to downplay this entire situation. So let's start off with the fact that they don't see the replay very clearly. So I'm screaming at home. I'm looking at my screen and I'm just screaming, oh my God. But then I remember that they kind of see the screen a little late. They do this all the time. They see one half of the replay and then they go, we don't know. And then they see the full replay and then they have to decide whether or not it's a foul or not. At first they don't see it, and then they finally see it and they go, oh no, her hand's in her glove. Well, these things happen. And that's when I go apeshit. Bisping says these things happen, and Dom, for the entirety of this replay, goes, things like this happen. This is Dominic Cruz, the guy who complains about not being given a chance to continue fighting after he was essentially knocked down. And whether or not you think he should have been given a chance to get back up is a different discussion from this person was cheating and he justifies it on commentary. He then proceeds for the rest of this fight card to continue to justify, oh my God, whether or not your finger is in, whether or not someone's cheating, you should continue fighting. Because that's how it works. That's how it's always worked. It's never worked that way. If someone's cheating, the fighter 9 times out of 10 will get the attention of the ref, and the ref will fix the injustice or the infraction of some sort. Dominic Cruz, for the rest of this fight card, continues to complain and shoot at Demopoulos for not continuing to fight while she's being infringed on, which then leads to her losing. This is the biggest injustice on this card. No one got robbed on this card, but if there was a person who got robbed, it's Demopoulos, of the fact that it's not as though she was winning this fight. In fact, she wasn't winning the fight. She was technically losing via position. Obviously, I wish we finished the round. I can't give a definitive whatever, but she was losing the fight, if you want to be cute about it, and lost via Amorim cheating. And that's all I have to say. That's all I have to say. It's very disappointing that no one seems to care. But if it were any other, if this were Paul Felder, who knows? Because Paul Felder is kind of iffy on certain people. But if this were Paul Felder, I think he calls this out as cheating. If this were the A group, okay, Anik, Joe, DC, there's been many times where people have put their hands in gloves and the A group will bring it up. In fact, Anik will go, that guy's cheating, blatant fence grab, blatant this, blatant that, controversial. He'll go fully into it. But this group, arguably the worst commentary team on the UFC staff, just downplay it. Now, whether that's a producer in their ear is beyond my knowledge. But they were terrible in how they analyzed this fight. And that's all I have to say. Next honorable mention, we go to Yizha versus Santos. Okay, I had this 30-27. Let me get to the thing real quick. Yizha versus Santos. I had this 30-27 for Santos. If you go to the first round, Santos dropped and outstruck Yizha by 22 strikes. There was a tiny little thing that happened here where I forgot who it was. I think it was Yizha. Yizha had a cut, and Kerry Hatley saw the cut and brought in the doctor, and you know, at first I was like, it's just a cut, it's not that serious. And then coincidentally, the lady just goes, it's just a cut. And then Bisping goes, it's just a cut. Look, it's not that serious. But the reason why I'm bringing this up, the reason why I'm so pissed about it is because Bisping then goes into a diatribe about, listen, it's just a cut. It's not that serious. We come out here to fight. And then they proceed to bring back up the Demopoulos thing of, listen, it's just a cut. Whether or not it's a cut or someone grabs your glove, it's a fight. You got to fight through it. This is a common theme throughout the night. I'm telling you, this was pissing me off. Even later in the fight, we'll get to it if we get to it. But just constant bringing up of really a really big controversy of a fight that was gifted to Amorim via cheating is now become a joke on the next fight. But we move on. Second round, close on the feet with the edge to Yizha on strikes, but this is on the feet obviously, but Santos had a takedown with some ground and pound. That round belongs to Santos. And then in the third round, Santos had 2 takedowns with ground and pound for 3+ minutes. While Yizha was active on the bottom, it didn't matter. You go to the judges' scorecards. And Brian Minner is the only one with the correct scorecard. He has a 30-27. And then David Lethaby and Adelaide Byrd just inflate the scorecard for no reason. They have a 30-26 for Santos. Both of them, they give the last round a 10-8. There's no need for that 10-8. There really is no need for that 10-8. In fact, I'm going to give an honorable mention because the 10-8 is actually really stupid. If you look at it pretty clearly, Yizha was very active on the bottom. Was he losing? Yes. But that was enough to warrant off a 10-8. This is ridiculous. So there you have it on that. You go to the next honorable mention. Dos Santos versus Lima. I had this 29-28. 29-28. I see certain fights like these and I just want to punch. I want to punch my screen. 29-28. Okay. Not a 30-27. There shouldn't be a 30-27 here. And when I heard that, I was wild out of my mind. Okay. 29-28 for Lima. Last 2 rounds I gave to Lima. First round you give to Dos Santos. Very simple. There's a couple fights on here. This one and I believe the first round of Andrade versus Natalia Silva, where someone is obviously being outstruck heavily. Heavily is a bit excessive, but someone's being outstruck very well, and the other fighter is losing, but lands like 4 big heavy shots, and the commentary goes into like jerk off mode to the point where even in the Silva versus Andrade fight, Fitzgerald tries to insert the volume versus power as though that should be like a reason why we should score the first round for Andrade, but that's beyond the point. We go to the first round of Santos versus Lima. If I can find it really quickly, Dos Santos outstrikes Lima by 8 strikes. Lima has a reversal, but it doesn't matter. Dos Santos is outstriking Lima pretty much the entire round. The only difference is Lima is pressuring Dos Santos, but beyond that point, he's getting outstruck. So it doesn't really matter. That round belongs to Dos Santos. You go to the second round. Dos Santos outstrikes Lima on the feet, but Lima gets a takedown with some ground and pound for about 3 minutes. So he's outstriking him for about a good minute or so on the feet, Dos Santos is, and then Lima gets a takedown, like I said, with some ground and pound for 3+ minutes. I do want to reiterate here, though, that I don't think Lima won this round definitively. And what I mean by that is Lima gets this takedown and proceeds to land, really bad ground and pound. For a good minute that he's on top, he's kind of not doing anything. Let's flash backwards to a fight that I didn't bring up because it's not important. Petroski versus Budka. In that fight, Petroski proceeded to just lay on top of Budka for the majority of that fight. And there's some portions where he landed some ground and pound, but for the majority of that fight, the commentary made it known that, hey, this guy needs to be more active on top, which is 1,000% true. And there are portions of that fight where Petroski was kind of cheating and grabbing the fence a little bit, but whatever, the ref was on him. In this Lima fight, Lima proceeds to lay on Dos Santos for large portions of this fight and not land efficient ground and pound. The commentary doesn't seem to give a fuck. They are just so infatuated by Lima that they forgot to add that he needs to be fucking active on top of his opponent. I digress. We go to the third round, okay, where Lima has a takedown with some ground and pound and three submission attempts. So some of them were kind of quick, but 3 submission attempts for about 3 minutes. And there you have it. That's how you get the 29-28. You go to the judges' scorecards, and Junijiro Kamijo and Adelaide Byrd, their scorecards are correct. hilarious. 29-28 for both of them. Goes to Lima. And then Chris Lee, honorable mention, his scorecard's wrong. He has a 30-20. He has a correct scorecard. He has a goofy scorecard. 30-27 to Lima. He gives the first round to Lima. Honorable mention to Chris Lee. We go to the next honorable mention. Okay, we go to the next honorable mention, and that is Dulgarian versus Marotte. Okay, I had a 10-8 in the first round, and then Dulgarian won by submission in the second round. In the first round, Dulgarian had a takedown with ground and pound and a submission attempt for about 4+ minutes, possible 10-8. It's definite 10-8. He dominated him the entire round. I mean, objectively speaking, this is a 10-8. If you don't put this as a 10-8, I don't know. It's a 10-8. He took him down almost immediately. So there you have it. You go to the judges' scorecards. David Letheby and Rick Winter are the only correct scorecards. They have a 10-8, for Dulgarian, and then Tony Weeks, I don't know, 10-9 for Marotte, or 10-9 for Dulgarian. It should be a 10-8. He gives a 10-9. We move on. We go to the next honorable mention. We go to the next honorable mention, and I didn't mark this, but I should have marked this. That's interesting. I did not mark this, but I should have marked this. But I'll mark it right now. Rongzhu versus Padilla. Padilla gets a TKO he gets a TKO win by doctor stoppage, really. In the second round, a great doctor stoppage. Actually, this doctor stoppage I liked. When he originally called in the doctor to check it out, I couldn't see because the camera was in the back. It was kind of wide, and then when they closed in on Rongzhu's eye, I was like, oh, well, we don't need another elbow touching his eye, so we're good here. That's a good stoppage. Rongzhu versus Padilla, first round, 10-9 to Padilla. 10-9 to Padilla. Padilla outstruck Rongzhu by about 6 strikes. Again, this is another instance where the commentary is just glazing the guy with the heavier strikes. I really hate when they do this because I feel like they're projecting a bias on a certain fighter. While Rongzhu did have occasional heavy strikes, he was getting outstruck this entire round. He was getting outstruck this entire fucking round. And they only seem to mention that very little. Very, very, very little. He outstruck Padilla outstruck Rongzhu by about 6 strikes. It may seem low, but he was outstriking him the entire fight, really. You go to the scorecards here, and Rick Winter has the wrong scorecard. 10-9 for Rongzhu in the first round. Honorable mention to Rick Winter. That's ridiculous. Jacob Montalvo and Tony Weeks have the correct scorecard. That's a 10-9 for Padilla in the first round. That they have it. You go to the next honorable mention, and it's Peak versus Ashmouz. Peak versus Ashmouz. I was very scared about how they were going to score the first round because it was kind of like an optics first round. The first round goes to Trevor Peak, but the optics didn't look good for Trevor Peak in that first round from a scorecard example, and it proved on one of the judges' scorecards. 29-28 for Ashmouz. I gave the first round to Trevor Peak. I gave the last 2 rounds to Ashmouz. In that very first round, Ashmouz had a takedown, but Trevor Peak outstruck him the entire round. So Ashmouz gets the takedown kind of middle to late, but it's kind of irrelevant because the entire round he's getting outstruck by Trevor Peak. And Ashmouz really does nothing with the takedown. So there's that. He does almost nothing with that takedown. You go to the second round. You go to the second round. Ashmouz has 4 takedowns with ground and pound and outstrikes Peak on the feet and in the clinch. You go to the third round. Ashmouz has 2 takedowns with some ground and pound and outstruck Peak on the feet as well. So there you have it, 29-28. You go to the judges' scorecards. And Chris Lee, his scorecard reflects mine, 29-28 for Ashmouz. Junichiro Kamijo, honorable mention, he gives the first round to Ashmouz. He has 30-27 for Ashmouz. He gives the first round to Ashmouz. That's nonsense. And then David Letheby he has the correct scorecard, but he just mixes a couple of things. He gives the first round to Ashmouz, honorable mention. Second round to Ashmouz. Then he gives the third round to Trevor Peek. Someone help me explain. Someone help me. Because it doesn't make any fucking sense. It makes no sense. Ashmouz has 2 takedowns with ground and pound and outstrikes Peek on the feet. Where do you give the third round to Trevor Peek? I do not know. But David Lethaby knows. David Lethaby saw something that I didn't see. So there you have it on that honorable mention there. That's fucking ridiculous. You go to the next honorable mention. I thought this was easy. For some reason it wasn't. Schnell versus Durden. Okay. Durden wins by submission in the second round. 10-9 for Durden in the first round. It's a 10-9 for Durden. Durden was outstriking Schnell. Commentary can do. I'm really mad at commentary. I know they have no effect on the fighting. It's just when you hear this so often, you only point to who you're mad at, and I'm pointing at commentary. Commentary, specifically Bisbank, pointing out, oh, look how fast Schnell is. Who gives a fuck how Schnell is? Who gives a fuck how fast Schnell is when the strikes aren't touching Durden's face? Many of them were just missed. A lot of them missed. Let's just be straight with that. We go to the first round. Durden outstrikes Schnell by about 7 strikes. The strike numbers are ridiculously off. They're just super, super off. There was a portion in that first round where essentially the first round is them swinging at each other. And most of those strikes were landed by Durden. The strike numbers proceed to pull up 23-23, showing that it's a tie. That's nonsense. It's just not accurate. It's just not accurate in any case at all. But Durden outstrikes Schnell by about 7 strikes. And those strike numbers they showed were really off. And then Durden wins in the second round. You know the judges' scorecards. And 2 judges had it right. Adelaide Burton Jr., Jiro Camijo, coincidentally enough, have it 10-9 for Durden. And then Brian Minner has it wrong, has it 10-9 for Schnell. So honorable mention to Brian Minner. We go to the next honorable mention. If I can find it here, we go to the next honorable mention, and that's Burns versus Brady. Okay, this fight was really nice. You know what? I haven't watched any media or anything, so I don't know if Burns is retired. But what it felt as though Burns is on his last legs. Just the way he was fighting, he looked defeated from the opening bell. He wasn't progressing forward. He wasn't throwing combinations. He looked tired from the opening bell. It looked really bad. It looked sad. And there's portions of the fight where when they were in when they had their breaks, that the coaches were trying to pump him up, and I couldn't even get mad at the coaches because I knew what they were doing. You know when a fight is clearly going one way, and the coach will go in there and say, "Hey, it's close. Hey, it's close." I couldn't even go, "What the fuck is he talking about?" I couldn't do all that because I knew what he was doing. I was like, "Oh, he looks defeated. He's not striking well. He's not grappling well. He's not trying to get out of certain situations." Henry Hoof is telling him, "Hey, it's close." Hey, body language. Those are things that you tell a fighter when they look done. And Gilbert Burns, again, I haven't checked yet. Maybe I'll need to search in a second. But Gilbert Burns looks done. I mean, he took off his gloves. I've never seen him take off his gloves before in my life. Maybe I've seen him take off his gloves. But him taking off his gloves in conjunction with him just going, having a fight like that, made me feel as though he's done. He's absolutely done. Him getting wrestled and not getting up, just his striking looking bad. I mean, the commentary started off by saying, "Hey, Gilbert Burns' striking is better than Brady's," and technically that's true. I mean, if we had a prime Gilbert Burns, is his striking better? Yeah. I mean, let's start off with the fact that a lot of Brady's shots didn't hurt Burns that bad. They really didn't. And so You can tell he's really on his last legs, and it's kind of sad to see. But beyond that, I'll see later if he's retired. But in terms of the fight, though, I had it 50-45 for Brady. There shouldn't be a round for Burns. There's pockets in this fight where the crowd gets hype and your brain goes, oh my God, please don't have a judge give it to him because the crowd yelled or something. And obviously I'm looking at the scorecards right now. One of them did give him a round, but it's one of those things where you're just watching the fight and you're going, he did not win a single round. And we'll go through it. We go to the first round where Brady outstruck Burns by 20 plus strikes. He outstruck him by 20 plus strikes in this first round. The second round, he outstruck him by about 21 strikes. And then the third round, which is probably the closest round for Burns, heads up, someone gave him a round. Someone gave him this round, but Brady outstruck Burns. This is the round where Burns was kind of coming back, right? Brady's up on strikes. Burns lands a probably his best combination of the entire fight, like a 6-piece combo, and then gets taken down by Brady. Regardless of if there's a takedown, Brady still wins this round. Regardless of that fucking takedown. But I digress. He outstrikes him by 5 strikes. He gets a takedown in that third round. And then you go to the fourth round where Brady has 2 takedowns and he outstrikes Burns. And then I forget at the top of the 5th round. I believe this is the top of the 5th round, or yes, at the top of the 5th round. Before the 5th round starts, Dom says, I don't know whether his glasses are working or if he needs glasses. But Dom then says Burns is fighting a defensively sound fight. And that's after they showed the fucking strike numbers. Now, you know me, the strike numbers are inflated, but I'm watching the fight. He's losing. He's lost every single round. It's 4-0 before we even get to the 5th round. And Dominic Cruz is saying that Burns is fighting a defensively sound fight. If he means he has deterred most of Brady's takedown attempts, sure. But if he means that he's deterred most of the strikes that landed on his face, leg, and body, then no. He's losing this fight hilariously. And Dom, because he just says just random shit during the card, like Burns is fighting a defensively sound fight, makes me want to throw my computer. It really makes me want to just turn off the computer and never watch this again, because he's just saying stupid shit. Earlier in the fight card, he says, hey, maybe some guy will cause a cut and he'll win the fight that way. And I thought to myself, does he mean from the scorecards, or does he mean cause a cut and the doctor will stop it? I just couldn't tell anymore, because Dom just says stupid shit to where I'm just thinking, there's no need for me to watch this. He is crazy. He's a nutso, and I don't mean in his personal life. I don't care about anything in his personal life. I really don't. I'm just talking from a fight perspective. It's shit that they say in commentary really pisses me off, and it pisses me off even more that I have to see people say Michael Bisping is a good commentator. I don't think they're watching I don't think they're listening to what we're listening to. I'm listening to him waffle, and you're listening to him just make jokes and thinking, oh, he's a great commentator. That's me being annoying. But 5th round, Brady has 2 takedowns, and he outstrikes Burns by about 17 strikes. There you have it. It's a 50-45. He 50-pieced him, but he 50-pieced him. But they won't call it that because Chris Lee has a 50-45 for Brady. So does Brian Minner. And then David Lethaby just gets confused in the 3rd round and gives the 3rd round to Gilbert Burns. So he has it for 49-46 for Brady. Honorable mention to David Lethaby. That's fucking nonsense. And that's where you have it. I just want to say this real quick. I've already watched UFC Noche. I watched it at a party. So I'll make the video, and I'll detail my opinions in conjunction with how I saw them at the party. So I'll give it to you like that. Thank you all for listening. I'll be back soon, and God bless.